Yeah, when it's working, it's great. Famous 1952 Yankees Dodgers game 7. I think that was the last game Jackie Robinson played.
And will Vern, we'll see him sign in?
Yeah, we'll see him. See if he was coming directly with that. You need to approve it. She could just send the. There it is.
Allowed you talk? Yes, please.
Yeah, that would be.
I'd like to have that ability.
There he is.
Hi, Vern.
Hi, everyone.
We're not quite rolling officially yet.
Okay, that's fine. Is the weather warmed up there yet?
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Oh, it's 50.
Yeah.
Oh, 50.
So are the flies. The flies are out.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Inevitably, it's when I start weeding something.
Well, I haven't been outside, but they weren't biting me. They're just curious.
Yeah,
Around
this is the first wave of dumb
Yeah,
ones. It's
it
just
is.
kind of like,
Yeah.
what are we
So,
doing here? What are we doing? The second wave is what we're doing.
yeah, they're moving slow. So we got a bunch of Phoebes around our place right now. So they're just like
Yeah.
having a great time.
Not to nerd out too much, but the first emergences are the males of the species, and so they don't bite.
Oh, is that how that
The
works?
females need the blood for the eggs.
Ah.
Yeah.
I'm getting used to seeing them like
This is
buzz
way
around
too much
inside.
information.
I know.
I don't even need to
So
know
it's the
this.
females of the bloodsuckers. I should have known that.
Just a little something for you.
Yeah, wonderful.
I saw my first diamondback rattlesnake on the golf course today.
Wow.
Black flies aren't that bad.
How big?
Nice.
It's about 4 feet long.
Oh,
I
no.
was surprised how big around it was.
No.
And they allow them on the golf course. That's amazing. You would think they'd
I
be.
believe they get some sort of an ecological membership.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure the golf course
I
Oh,
has.
see crutches behind you.
Yes. Those are my crutches. That's my conveyance right now. Yeah. The week after all the ice went out and it was safe to walk around, I imagine just slip and fall and break my ankle.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
That's just kind of slow down, watch things happen, I guess.
Are we all set everywhere else?
I believe so.
Cool. All right. It is 6 p.m. I think we are hooked up, ready to go. And welcome everyone to the Lincolnville Board of Assessors meeting. It is the 2nd of May. Just as a reminder, the meetings of the Board of Assessors are broadcast live on cable TV on channel 22 and live streamed on our YouTube channel. And remote participation is available via Zoom. We have only one real agenda item, which is discussing with our assessor's agent concerning the possible plan for townwide reevaluation and possible replacement of the current assessor's agent in 2025. And with that, I think I'll hand it over to you, Vern.
All right, thank you. As I put in my comments, the last time we talked as a group was last fall when we were doing the request for proposals. And we had two companies that submitted responses to our requests. One company submitted two different proposals, and then one company submitted a proposal. So we actually have three proposals. And I think what I'd like to do is deal with one of the proposals from one of the companies first, because it's quite different in scope from, I think, what we were asking for. And then we could get down to just the two, one from each company. Excuse me, KRT Appraisals submitted one bid for $175,000 using a software called Assess Pro 5 from Patriot Properties. And my understanding is that it's a new type of assessment software, much like the last time when we did an revaluation. We asked for proposals and we received one from a company called Vision. And Vision also has they're called computer assisted mass appraisal software. Trio has a module within the Trio municipal software that we use to do our assessing. And so Vision and this AP5 are different versions of that same type of software. And they have different capabilities and different ways to input things and things like that. The problem that I believe exists with this software is kind of twofold. One of them is that it's a newer software to Maine. My understanding is that currently the town of Auburn is the only municipality using it, and they have not used it yet to do a tax commitment. And oftentimes with these softwares that aren't Trio, the Trio and the software don't get along well sometimes, and especially when it comes time to do your tax commitment and your tax billing. And although they say there are bridges and they're effortless, I also see every year assessors posting on the listserv that they're having problems doing this. And it just creates a lot of additional stress. It also leads to double entry with at least one of the other softwares of things like homestead exemptions and veterans exemptions, because it doesn't carry over. It just takes the final number that's generated and drops it into what's called short screen Trio, which is what the town of Lincolnville used before we did our last revaluation in 2007 and upgraded to a full computer assisted mass appraisal software module. So the problem then is that you are going to bring in a different system that's new to the town office. It's new to everybody that works there. And so everybody there has some familiarity, some more than others, with your current Trio assessing software. The Trio assessing software is pretty seamless when it comes time to do the tax bills. As you know, we get together in August, you set the mill rate. Well, you continue on your meeting that's scheduled that evening as selectmen. After you break out as assessors, you go back to selectmen. While you finish your selectmen's meeting, I actually go in and generate everything that's needed. And the next morning come back in and they create the billing files and send them out for your bills. So it's a pretty error-free, I hate to say that because now watch what'll happen this August, but error-free system that works very well without a lot of issues. And the other thing is that you don't have to do the double entry in both Trio and some other sort of assessing system. And you don't have to train all the staff on how to use it. And you have a property card now that you've been using a Trio property card since before I came there in 2004 or 5. So your residents are used to the Trio card that they're seeing and what they're looking at. And a lot of them that have come in to talk to me, they know where to look for what they're looking for. So I think that proposal, although it is the lowest in price, is not the one that I would recommend simply because of the new software that it wants to institute into the process. Would you like to discuss that a little?
So Vern, did you say that there's only one town using this?
Currently there is. It's a new software to Maine. This company KRT likes the software. I believe they use it in other states. And they want to, for a long time, I guess Patriot has never really come into Maine to try to market this software, because Trio has a pretty good handle on the municipal market. And Vision is the other company that has been in Maine for quite a while, probably the early 2000s. And that's used by a lot of larger municipalities because it gives them a lot more of the type of flexibility and sophistication that they want.
So,
Sure.
yeah, so Vern, do you figure in another 10 years or 15 years, do you see the town at a disadvantage if it stays with Trio? I guess, are we looking at old technology?
No, we're not looking at old technology. In fact, Trio has recently upgraded their database and their method for doing things. Although the interface still looks the same, the way that it operates in the background is different. And now Trio has a new system coming out called Trio Web that will actually allow for them to host your services for your files, make it so that a person like me who is working remotely part of the year no longer has to actually log into the town office, but would log right into Trio and do the work there. And that way, if I log in and I work and, somebody in the office, Cheryl, wants to log in to look at a property card or make an address change or something like that, she can do that at the same time. We're all working in the same database, but we're not messing each other up by doing those changes. And so when she makes a change and I make a change at the same time, if somebody else were to pull up that property card, both those changes would instantly be there. So they are still maintaining their software. They're trying to improve it. And they're looking forward to what they see as the future where software is going. So I can't say that I think that in 10 or 20 years you'd be behind the 8 ball staying with Trio, but I can't predict the future. If I did that, we wouldn't be talking.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm sorry to ask you to predict the future, but yeah.
No, that's fine.
Thanks.
Josh, did you have a question?
Have you used this other software before?
I have never used it. As I said, this AP5, there's only, as of the date when we received their response, only the municipality of Auburn was using it.
Yeah. Okay.
We're just talking about software right now, right? Not other questions.
Yeah, with response to the KRT.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Vern,
sure.
If that's all right to jump in.
Yeah.
Vern, in terms of other people, other certified Maine assessors, I'm going to make an obvious statement, or I think it's obvious, correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously, there are many more people in the state of Maine that are familiar with how to do assessing in Trio than with probably any other system.
I would say that's true, yes. Yes.
So
Trio, the advantage to Trio is that they provide a municipality with, death and birth certificates, registrations, all the things that go on in the front office, plus assessing, and it seamlessly goes into tax billing and allows for collections also. Your lien process goes through it and everything. So that all works together as really one package, but they just call it different modules because some municipalities don't purchase everything from them.
So when you fully retire and we're here doing assessing, and if we were to lose the next assessor's agent for whatever reason, dissatisfaction, or they just up and leave us or retire too, there might be a bigger field of candidates familiar with Trio than any other.
Today, I would say that's definitely the case. And especially for, and please don't take this the wrong way, but Lincolnville is a smaller municipality. It's a lot of the larger municipalities that use a different type of software. I know Waterville has had Vision from back when I was doing appraisals, and I stopped doing that in 2000. And they had Vision before then. And it is, it's a great system, but what happens in a lot of cases is, the assessor gets done with their work and they say, I'm done. I printed a commitment book. Here you go. And the tax collector says, yeah, but I need to do tax bills. And the assessor says, I don't do billing. Where people that have Trio, the assessor has the ability to at least sit down with the tax collector and say, okay, let's go through the billing function. Even if they don't know about it, they can call Trio on the phone and Trio can say, okay, so, Mr. Assessor or Mr. Assessor, have you done this, this, and this? Yes, I've done that. We've done the commitment. And then they say, okay, so here's how we need to set up a couple of journal entries and we transfer the information in and boom, there you go. Your bills are ready to go.
Yeah, sure.
So, to me, it's an obvious thing. Let's just stick with Trio. If, the town employees seem to be happy with it. If people are happy with the software, then I don't see any reason to shift over at this point.
Yeah. Vern, how do you want to proceed? Do you want to talk more about the KRT proposal with respect to Trio, or move on and compare both of them?
I think if you're good with that we should stay with Trio, then we can just look at the two proposals, one from KRT and one from RJD, that will use Trio and will go forward with Trio from whatever point they start working for the town of Lincolnville.
Okay, Jordan, did you have a question with regards to software?
No, just.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so Vern, did you want to speak on the two proposals that we have with regards to Trio?
Sure. So on those two proposals, I guess the easiest part is experience, qualifications, and can both companies do a satisfactory job for the town of Lincolnville. And I believe for the revaluation that they both have experience. KRT is a new company to me, but I know they've been in the Mid-Coast region. They've done work, and I believe both Camden and Rockport, working with Kerry Leishman, who's the assessor there. And they've worked in a lot of other Maine municipalities. So they're familiar with Maine. They're familiar with the market. They're familiar with how Trio works because they've used that in some municipalities as well. So it's not like they don't know how Trio works. I believe that they have enough staff. I certainly know that Kerry thinks of them very highly. RJD is a company that has been around. So Rob Duplessis currently is the face of RJD. It was his dad, Bob, before him. And Rob's son has recently decided to go into the family business as well as of last fall when I saw Rob. So that's 3 generations that they've been doing appraisals in Maine, doing both revaluations and maintenance work, acting as assessors agents and assessors. They also are currently under contract for a 2023 revaluation and tax commitment in in Islesboro, and a 2024 commitment in the town of Hope. So they have been in Northport for a long time. I think they've been in Northport longer than I've been in Lincolnville. And their agent, who used to be in Northport, is my assessor in the town of Vassalboro, where I live up there. So I think both companies have the experience. I think they have certainly the knowledge, the understanding of Trio and how it works, and they have the staffing to do the job to your expectations. One of the things that we have allowed in the RFP is for whoever's doing it to use our existing property cards and just go out and verify information on the cards as far as size of structure, what's there, get fresh pictures, change sketches if it needs to be, and things like that. And that does make it a little easier for them. I believe that we don't have a lot. Nobody I don't think was on the board that's on the board now when I first came, but when I first came and interviewed, one of the things that one of the members told me was that the records were a mess. And there certainly were, because they were paper cards, and things were done by hand and done with calculators. And there certainly were a lot of errors on the cards. With a computer assisted system like you have, it's just a matter of maintaining those things. So what you're really asking these people to do is, in this case, three things. One is to go out and visit all the properties, and make sure that any changes that have happened are brought up in current. So two things that happen to properties. And one is that properties deteriorate and we don't know about it. A lot of times people don't call and say, gee, I had a barn that fell in, or I haven't been able to maintain my property to the level that I like. And I think that the condition is not as good as it used to be. We don't get a lot of those types of calls, and so you don't know that. And then the other thing that we're asking them to do when they go do their field work is then come in and take that information and translate it into what you're actually doing is called a mass appraisal. You're coming up with, I talk about land and building schedules, and those reflect what's going on in the market based on the sales, to come up with a methodology for establishing an estimate of value for every property in town. So if you've purchased a house or refinanced the mortgage, excuse me, you've had an appraiser oftentimes come to your house, and they're usually there for a good hour or longer. They've already done a search of records at the town office. They go back to their office, they generate a report that's 15 to 25 pages long. And it's a detailed market analysis and what we call a direct sales comparison. What you're actually doing is coming up with a system that uses a replacement cost, new less depreciation, and applies that to the market to come up with values. So you're asking them to take within the Trio system to use the power that Trio has to modify numbers to meet your local market. And so it may be different modifiers. It certainly would be different modifiers for Lincolnville and Islesboro, just because of the cost of island construction. So that's what you're asking them to do, is to use that system to do that. And so they're going to look at the properties, they're going to update the cards, they're going to get new pictures. And then they will also at the same time, towards the end of the process, test their system to actual sales in the market and make sure that it fits with what's going on in the market at the time, in your case, of April 1, 2025. So from that standpoint, I think both companies can do that. And then the differences become, in my mind, there's just a couple differences. One is cost. So the KRT has a proposal for $195,000, and RJD is $215,000. Timing, and the timing is that RJD will wait until after the April 1, 2024 tax commitment is done, and then they will start their work and have everything ready for tax commitment in August of 2025, which is based on the April 1 of 2025 assessment date. KRT wants to start doing inspections immediately and begin entering that information into the Trio system. There's no way within Trio to enter information and tell Trio ignore this until 2025. And so as they're making those property changes are going into the system, and that could lead to some changes for some people, but not everybody in town. And then the other issue is assessors agent services. So KRT, being based in Haverhill, just can't provide assessors agent services to the town of Lincolnville. It's just too far a distance for them to travel to be up there in the town office. So they have suggested that, and they talked with Kerry Leishman, who is currently working in Camden and Rockport. And he expressed an interest in also serving in addition to those two towns as Lincolnville's assessor's agent. And so I talked to Kerry a few months ago now to verify that he was interested in doing that. And he said he definitely was. So it would be a shared assessor's agent or shared assessing services with the towns of currently Camden, Rockport, and Lincolnville. And so that would be up to you to come up with some sort of a cost sharing arrangement, whether they would want a staff person other than Carrie in the town, a day or 2 days or 3 days a month, and Carrie'd be there one day. I don't know what that arrangement would be. But it would be some sort of a sharing of those services with a couple other towns.
Here's what I found.
I'm sorry?
Just Siri trying to be helpful.
Okay. RJD has basically said that they're committed to providing you with assessor's agent services once the reval is done. So they will come in, they will do the reval, and then they will be there to support and defend those values going forward.
Okay, yeah, Jordan.
So, I'm assuming that with KRT that we're gonna have to do like an à la carte type of thing where we're paying extra for the assessor's services, and that it's not gonna be rolled into that bid number that they gave us. The cost.
Well, that bid number from neither company would include assessor services. So I would still stay on regardless of which company does it. If you want me to, I would stay on through June of 2025. And what that would do is that would allow them to focus on the revaluation. I would do the deed work through April 1st of that year, and then find out how they want to handle deeds that happen after that point. And if they want to do like we do, which is send a bill to both the new and the old owner, I would even go in and make those changes for them. I would take care of inputting the homestead exemptions, the veterans exemptions, updating that list, anybody that's moved out of town or passed away, getting them off the list, taking care of the tree growth renewals that are due for the year and things like that, so that they would focus just on the reval. And then at the end of the reval, and come July 1st of 2025, you would need someone to be your assessor's agent going forward. And so that your choices are, KRT has recommended contacting Kerry to see what he would do for services and how that would work and what they would charge you. You could go with RJD, who has committed to be the assessor's agent, or you could go out and ask for people to apply to be your assessor's agent. That we've had a new reval done, and we'd like to have somebody take over as our assessor's agent now.
Okay, so that, the issue of the assessor's agent is actually completely independent from this reevaluation, is more forward thinking to after the reevaluation is done, who we can turn to after you retire. So this is correct?
Yes and no. What I've done in two of my towns, and what my intention is to do in my other two towns, is make certain that you have not only a revaluation that is done, but that you have someone in place to take over for your assessor's agent services. And in every town, my advice is whoever you choose to do the revaluation, if they are willing to or have a way to get you an assessor's agent, that's what I would recommend you do. So if it's KRT, then I would recommend that you get in touch with Carrie, not necessarily, tomorrow or even in a year or two, but down the road, and say, okay, we're ready. And are you still willing to do this? And the same thing with RJD. If they do it, I would recommend that you have them take over. It's just nice to have somebody that's familiar with the reval process that each company went through. So if RJD does the reval and they're your agent, they're familiar with what they did, and they have a pretty good knowledge of the town. KRT would also have good knowledge of the town, and they have a working relationship with Cary.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
So we could hire KRT to do the reval and then hire RJD appraisal to be our assessor's agent. It's just they wouldn't have that knowledge of the reval. Is that, they would be willing to do that?
Yes, you could, if they would be willing to do that, yes. And part of the problem in my rationale for saying, let's get somebody to do the revaluation and take over as assessor's agent is that, I don't know how much you know about, but there is a severe shortage of people to do assessing and assessor's agent work in the state of Maine right now. And so if you have someone who's willing to do the work, I would say get a commitment from them that they will do it for you. I have heard stories that down in southern Maine, they're paying $1,000 a day for assessing services.
I mean, certainly there's a lot of intrinsic value in the company that does the revaluation continuing on, because not only are they responsible for carrying out all of that work that they've done, but, you know, I think you layer that in with the Trio software and there's an inherent value reflected that isn't necessarily shown in the cost of, say, going with RJD, but in the continuity of the staff here being able to operate on that platform, and hopefully there being that level of both consistency, continuity, and just knowledge with how to operate that seems like a real added value.
To be honest with you, if I were someone who was bidding on a reval in a town, and I also said I would go on as their assessor's agent afterwards, and they said, well, we're going to have somebody else do the reval, and then we're going to have you take on the assessor's agent role, I probably would say, thanks, but I'm all set. I've got enough work to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be
Yeah, I mean,
perfectly honest.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the value of having the company who's doing all of this work then be, you know, and you look at their proposal, the follow through and the position that they're willing to put themselves in terms of having hearings with our citizens, you know, to hear about concerns or, you know, all of that is invaluable. And moving on as it all settles in. Really.
And I don't want to sound like I'm trying to steer you in one way or the other, but I will make one last comment. That is that for the last 17 years, you've had an assessor's agent who also served in the town of Hope and the town of Islesboro, where you share a school system with one of those municipalities, and you share a harbor and an ocean with another one.
You know, the other point, Vern, that you brought up that I'm glad you did, because I was seeing that in the proposals, is the rollout of onboarding the information in Trio. And I have to say, it doesn't really sit well with me at all. KRT's proposal of making portions of the town live as they go through the process. It just, that doesn't seem equitable, consistent. You know, I think if I were the last, I'd want to be the last third of the properties going in, you know, but I think to me, it seems like a better product to have the rollout happen at once rather in phases as KRT's proposed.
Well, I think that's true because it gives you a defensible position going forward if it all comes out at once with taxpayers. You know, there is a process where they will do quarterly updates. And a lot of towns do quarterly updates where they do 1/4 of the town each year. But it's the same company going through and doing their own work again and updating their own records. So you're certain that the, excuse me, the grade and the quality ratings, which are big determinants of value for buildings, are the same ones that they used when they did the reval 3 years ago. And when they looked at the town, they looked at 1/4 of the town this year, and they're going to grade it the same when they look at 1/4 of the town 3 years down the road. So that those factors alone are consistent as well. And so all they're doing is getting the people that put on a deck without a permit or their barn fell down, those types of things.
Well, it seems to me, and I feel like this is gonna sound strange coming out of my mouth, because I feel like I'm kind of a budget hawk, and I feel like we should be very careful spending other people's money, but I think for the higher cost of RJD, that would be my inclination for the board to go with. Yeah, sure.
Well, and I think there's actually a few reasons why, after I've reviewed it, it's the payment schedule, some of the descriptions of services, the overall tone of the bid, and kind of their willingness to show us through without there being added charges, on the back end, which I'm sure they're a fantastic company, but there's many elements to this, and $20,000 is a lot of money, but the consistency issue that I kept coming up against, that's really it. And also, if they start, and they're starting in 2004, and they have a 5 installment period for payments, it's something that we can predict, something we can budget for easily in the future. It's not something that where we're getting percentage invoices, I don't want to say randomly, but intermittently, where we can't really budget for, because we're going to have to make guesses about it. So there's a few different things that added up for me that had me leaning towards RDG. Yeah.
Okay.
So can I just say something, maybe help you with that $20,000? Your last reval was an effective date of 2007, your townwide reval. And so this one will be 2025, which I believe is 18 years. And so yes, $20,000 is not an insignificant amount of money, but spread over 18 years, it becomes much more palatable.
Sure. Yeah, Mike, you.
Well, what I was gonna say, what kind of concerns me with KRT is the level of commitment, I guess, to providing an assessor's agent. I mean, there's a big difference, I think, between saying RJD, saying we've got you covered with an assessor's agent, and then versus we've talked with someone who's willing to talk with us.
Yeah,
And
is already very committed to
Two big towns.
that
Yes.
have a lot going on.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and at tax commitment time, where priorities are gonna fall, all of that
Sure,
kind of
exactly, right,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. Josh, anything to add?
No, I agree with all of that. I think that makes a lot of sense in the grand scheme of things. 20,000, I think is worth it. It's been that way. I'm not crazy about a company saying, hey, we are one of the we're one of the reps for this new software that we'd like you to try.
Yeah,
It's at a discount.
yeah. Well, and talk about an inherent lack of efficiency in trying to have two different softwares that, yeah,
So
absolutely.
I don't know, that doesn't, I'm sure the software's great, but it's a bit of a sales pitch on top, that we didn't ask for.
Yeah. Yep. Kern, anything to add?
I'm good. I feel Jordan covered everything that I was.
Yep.
That I got out of this.
Yep. So Vern, it sounds like there's a general nodding of heads with the Board of Assessors to make a recommendation to have the conversation with RJD Appraisal of Pittsfield to talk about a contract.
Okay, so how do you want I assume the Board of Selectmen would make a motion at their next meeting to pursue that, and then I can contact them and let them know and ask them to get a contract down to you for review and signature?
Excuse me, I guess I haven't talked enough. I think probably if there's unanimity on the Board of Assessors, it would be okay for us to work to get a contract drafted. Obviously, we're not gonna sign it until we have
We need the
funds in
money.
hand. So it's really not gonna be signed until June,
Yeah,
but we're gonna need to draft it. We're gonna have to make sure it has a non-appropriation clause in it. And we'll have to get it to legal review and make sure we cross the Ts and dot the Is. So we've got a month's worth of work ahead of us, and we've got 6 weeks to do it, so that'll be the first for me.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, with RJD, you have no funding requirement in fiscal year 22-23.
Better.
yeah, right.
Your first
Right.
funding year then would be 23-24, and your last would be 25-26.
Yeah, so I think with the concurrence here tonight, we can at least get the ball rolling.
Okay, so would you like me to contact them tomorrow and start that process, David?
Yeah, you can, or I can, or we can.
Okay,
You can, you've got a relationship with them, I believe, but I'll be more than happy to start one.
well, they're doing 2 other towns already, so yes, I do. And, I didn't know Rob real well. I mean, I see him at tax school every year. We say hi and talk a little bit. But I was much more familiar with his dad because I would see him in town offices when I was doing appraisal. So, but it's just a continuation of the same thing. So I will reach out to him tomorrow and have him get a draft agreement down to you, David, and we'll go
Yep,
from there. And
maybe-
I'll be back in a couple of weeks anyways.
Maybe give me a shout before you call them tomorrow.
Absolutely.
All right, Vern, anything else for us on this particular subject right now?
I don't think so. I've got deeds processed through the end of March already for you, so we're in good shape. I'll come back and I guess the next big thing will be our ratio declaration form, and I'll come to you. That needs to be in by June 1st, so we'll make sure that happens. Other than that, I don't have anything.
Great. Anything else from the Board of Assessors right
Thank you
now?
so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Vern.
All right, you all have a good
And,
evening. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Be careful on the golf course.
Yeah, be careful those copperheads. David, anything else?
Nope, you've covered your agenda except for adjourning.
Yep. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Selectman Barnett Parker, motion by Selectman, seconded by Selectman Garrettson. I'll get that out. Let's see, any discussion? No discussion. Kern, what's your vote?
Yes.
Mike, what's your vote?
Yes.
Josh, what's your vote?
Yes.
Jordan, what's your vote?
Yes.
Lately, my vote is yes. We are adjourned.
There you go.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Vern.
Bye, Vern.